Leo from Anunnaki Debate. Now, I've come to you today in hopes of starting discussions, intellectual discussions, debates about some things that I consider to be anomalies in our history. Most specifically, the history of the human species. I think that there's a lot of thought that goes on today in mainstream academia. It seems to tell us that our history is much younger and less complicated than it actually is. I think that there is incontrovertible evidence to prove all of this. No matter where we look in the world, actually, it's not in isolated locations that we see. So I'm going to discuss a few topics here. Feel free to post counter videos. We'll have debates. I mean, it'll be fun. First thing I want to talk about today is something that I find truly bizarre. It's this fossilized hammer that was found by a group of workers quarrying in limestone in about 1786. This is below about, I'd say, 50 feet of sand below ground level. The sand was estimated to be about, the sand above it was estimated to be about 300 million years old. But the petrified hammer, the handle of the hammer, this is a truly interesting thing, is estimated to be about 100 million years old. But in the interior, they discovered coal, trace amounts of porous coal, and that sounds a little strange to me because those are two separate processes. I mean, petrification occurs when timber is buried under silt for millions of years, for just huge amounts of time. But coal, however, is formed when a forest burns and falls millions and millions of years ago. The burning part is the key there, and then it's compressed over billions and billions of tons over millions of years. But how do these things occur at virtually the same time? How do we get coal inside petrified wood? Very strange things. The next thing I'd like to talk about is there's this place in Lebanon called Baalbek. This is a pretty significant place. I mean, we're told that it's a Roman location, that they built it, but I think this is just preposterous. I mean, we're told in Roman times by mainstream academia that Baalbek was a small trading city on a trade route to Damascus. There was no religious significance, no spiritual significance, but yeah, we have one of the most dumbfounding sites in all of the world. It's this place called Baalbek. It's a platform, basically. It ranges from about 88 by 48 meters. It raises about 13 meters above the ground, and these retaining walls of the base of this place are made of limestone blocks, 27 of the biggest limestone blocks in the world. They weigh in excess of 300 tons. 3 of them weigh over 800 tons. We're talking about 3 of the 4 biggest rocks ever on Earth found here. We also have the Stone of the Pregnant Lady, which is in excess of like 900,000 tons. Like 900 tons, like that's baffling. We can lift maybe like 5, 6, 10 tons with modern machinery, but we find that these were set into place 13 feet above the ground. And the weird thing about this is the quarries are pretty far away, and there doesn't appear to be any type of road between them. Actually, there's a few mountains that lay in between the quarries and the site of Baalbek. The weirdest thing that I find when dealing with the Baalbek platform, or the Temple of Jupiter as it's called, is the Romans claim to have taken over it. Emperor Constantine goes down there, and I think he just picked this site, tore down whatever on top, and built upon it, because the Baalbek platform is entirely made of stone. I mean, the Romans used virtually no stone in any of their architecture. They were completely concrete. We're dealing with a civilization that wasn't even that advanced. I mean, the Romans were a bunch of barbarian pillagers who stole ideas from everyone else. They didn't even invent the road. I mean, we find roads that date back at least 20 to that date back at least let's see. We find roads that date back to at least 20 to 30,000 years. These are found in Kentucky and Colorado. I mean, we have astronomical amounts of evidence that there were advanced civilization before this. So to think that the Romans built the Temple of Jupiter is a little preposterous to me. The next thing I'd like to talk about is a few items of petrified things that have been found, human parts. Cranium has, with broken eye sockets, was found, along with human bones that were found in Pennsylvania. And we're talking petrified skulls here. This is 100 to 110 million years old. They also found a human fossil print. A human finger that has been fossilized. It's labeled DM93-083. That can be looked up anywhere. It's a petrified finger. It has bone marrow in it. I mean, that's some pretty fascinating stuff. Some other things that I find weird. One of my favorite places in all the world has to be South America. I mean, it's one of the most interesting and most enigmatic situations in the world. We have buildings that are created, megalith jungle structures that are better than any other buildings in the world. I mean, Pumapunku, which has designs that modern-day concrete cutters wouldn't, spend their life trying to duplicate. But yet, this all comes from a civilization that didn't even have a hammer or a shovel. That's a little weird to me. I mean, I want to first talk about the site at Ska-Se-Wan. This is 3 zigzag formation walls placed high in the Andes Mountains, and what they are is they're comprised of they're comprised of 30-ton stones, in excess of 30-ton stones, and they're fit in zigzag formation along the hill into 3-tier levels, and they're cut in. The stone is literally cut and set in puzzle piece formation. I mean, absurd designs. This is a jigsaw puzzle, basically. But the weird part about this is that at no point in Ska-Se-Wan, in Cusco, in a lot of these jungle-like megalith structures, that you cannot fit a razor blade between any of the stones. I mean, at Ska-Se-Wan, we find impressions of heat that have dented inside of the stone. And the only way you can have these dents inside the stone is when you superheat it up. I mean, these things are so tightly fit together, it couldn't have been done. And I will preempt one thing before we start getting into these debates. Some people are going to say, oh, they had a bunch of slaves that brought them up. It's actually not true, because an Incan king actually tried to replicate these, tried to build upon the stones at Ska-Se-Wan, and simply brought a 5-ton stone up using 40,000 men. It slipped and killed over 20,000 of those people. I think saying that slaves did all of this was absurd. I mean, none of these rocks are indigenous to anywhere around them. I mean, like I said, the Mayan, the Inca, and the Olmec, as far as we know, had no hammers, had no tools, they had no chisels. I mean, yet we have these structures. We have at Pumapunku slabs of diorite, perfectly cut, perfectly even, for meters upon meters. That diorite's the second hardest substance on Earth. I mean, it's a little bit weird. I don't think that they had diamond-tipped tools, and I don't really think that they were scouring along the beaches to find little chips of diorite to etch it in. We're talking cuts that are so perfect, our lasers cannot cut them as even and as level as these things are cut. The Pumapunka H-stone, these are all things to look up. Now, one thing I do want to mention is I will not be posting any pictures of any of this, because I do want all of you to research all of this and come to your own conclusions and interact me in a debate. And we'll keep going. Let's try and keep it about 10 minutes. I mean, we can banter back and forth, and I'll keep posting stuff. But one thing I do want to finish off with is the Piri-Reis map. This is a really weird anomaly found in 1513. It was very obviously comprised of much older things, much older maps. We do see a perfect depiction of the east side of South America, as well as the west side of Africa, and then a perfect depiction. We're talking within 1/2 degree of being perfect here. Depiction of an ice-free Antarctic continent. Now, this is a little strange to me, just because that can't exist. We didn't discover Antarctica until the 1800s. We didn't discover the subglacial continent of Antarctica until well into the 70s. I mean, we have letters to Charles Hapgood that very, very plainly depict from the United States Air Force that these maps could not have been created before the 60s. There's no possible way, but yet we see them. There are 12 maps in this world that have perfect depictions of Antarctica on them, without ice, with mountain ranges and river valleys and forests, and two separate land masses as it is. I mean, we're talking some pretty heavy shit here. So please try and debunk this. I mean, try and disprove me. I mean, I'm looking for an argument here, so let's have one. Have a good day. Anil out.